Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. Los Angeles will be home to the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and Mayor Garcetti wants to make sure every Angelino feels the benefits. The executive directive created for this purpose will bring investment and support for communities and leave a legacy that Los Angeles can be proud of. Let's take a look.
So today I signed an executive directive to really put in place the mechanisms for implementing the best Olympics that we can and ensuring that not only is it a smooth Olympics with all the city departments working hard, but that it really touches every Angelino, especially those in communities that need investments the most. 1984 to me changed this city. It brought investment, it brought visitors, it brought an economy, and it revived the Olympic movement. I think we can do the same thing.
Well, we're here as the mayor signs Executive Directive 28, which creates a structure and a framework for us to work with the city to deliver the games I know we're capable of. So it's an exciting day.
Over the next 6 years, we're going to be getting ready for the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And above all, to work to make sure that every Angelino feels what I felt in 1984, that this is her games or his games, that each one of the Angelinos knows that not only the games themselves of the Olympics and the Paralympics for the first times is going to have amazing impact during those weeks, but will leave a legacy for the rest of our lives.
Well, look, every venue exists today. You can go around and see them all and touch them all and feel them all and frankly probably experience events just like you will during the Olympics in them all. So from a delivery standpoint, we're ready to go, and we hope that the benefits, societal, obviously kids getting the access to youth sports, businesses engaged, small businesses, minority-owned businesses, that the Olympics really touch every corner of Southern California.
These games belong to all of Los Angeles, and all of Los Angeles must feel its benefits. LA 84 built the tennis courts that young Serena and Venus Williams learned to play on. LA 28 must bring more of these investments, more support for communities, and leave a legacy that Los Angeles can be proud of.
This raises the bar. It says don't wait for the legacy after the games. Start it now, as we already have, redoing gyms in our poorest neighborhoods, looking at sports, coaches, classes, and uniforms in places where families can't afford that, and ensuring that para-athletes, kids that are living with disabilities, can now be a part of these games too, because this is the first time the Paralympics will ever be in LA.
The City of LA's Economic and Workforce Development Department teamed up with the Hospitality Training Academy for a job fair at Dodger Stadium. Hopeful future employees had the chance to be hired for one of the 500 openings available, including working as cashier, cook, chef, and concessions, amongst other hospitality jobs. Some lucky candidates even got hired that same day. Check it out.
This is a job fair for Levy Restaurants, which runs the concessions at Dodger Stadium, Crypto.com Arena, Nokia Theater, the LA Convention Center, all of these different event venues.
They're hiring for cashiers, cooks, chefs, concessions, just seeing where they might feel that I have the best fit.
During the pandemic, everybody was in, so now they want to work.
There are over 500 openings, everything from culinary to stand attendant to warehouse to shipping to payroll. There's just an unbelievable amount of openings here today.
I was so nervous about coming in today, and you know what, coming here, everyone was so welcoming. They gave us a lot of love here.
This is all in one place. It's a one-stop hiring event. And if you're offered a job, you get hired right then. There's no waiting.
Sí, vine a buscar trabajo para concession stands para los Dodgers y sí, apliqué y sí recibí el trabajo. No sabía que iba a agarrar el trabajo, nomás vine y oré que sí lo puedo agarrar y sí me lo dieron.
I got the position, so I was like, yay!
I got hired through Dodger Stadium, and I'm so excited, I'm so honored, I'm so thankful to work here.
It's union, so you get good wages, you get good benefits.
I was struggling, and it was really tough because there's jobs that they say they're hiring, and then some of them not even hiring. It's hard, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but don't ever give up.
putting people back to work and getting them off of unemployment is always going to stimulate the economy. They're going to have money in their pockets and they're going to go out and spend it. So let's get that money flowing, right? Get money in people's pockets and get it out into Los Angeles.
Identifying how many people are sleeping on the streets of Los Angeles determines how much funding is received, how resources are allocated, and what progress is being made. Councilmember Nithya Raman was on hand to highlight the importance of having volunteers help with the annual homeless count, which is a great way to bring the community together while helping the city better address the issue.
This is the annual homeless count. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. And so this year we're coming back together to do the count again. And it's really important because identifying the number of people who are sleeping on our streets every night determines how much money we're eligible for from the federal and state government. It helps us allocate resources and it helps us figure out whether we're making progress on homelessness. So this is really, really important.
What we do for the 3 nights of the street count is we get about 5,000 volunteers. They fan out across every census tract in Los Angeles County, and they do a visual count to look at, is anybody experiencing homelessness just an individual? Are there encampments? Are there RVs or people living in their vehicles? How many men, how many women, how many children? It helps us understand people's needs so that we can invest our resources to have the greatest impact possible and get as many people inside as we can.
A lot of people just aren't trained to speak directly with people experiencing homelessness, so this is a safe way for the community to get involved and to be able to participate in the homeless count and to participate in the community.
I think it's incredible to see so many people coming out to help really make a dent in tackling homelessness by identifying exactly how much we need to take it on.
Pues hay 2 clases de voluntarios. Hay gente que va a venir ahorita que van a caminar o conducir por la área contando gente y otros voluntarios que se quedan aquí para dar materiales, bocadillos, pues contar papeles, como ayudar.
Homelessness is, to my mind, the most important issue in our neighborhoods and in our region today. It's important to have good data that captures the extent of the problem.
I'm just glad to see so many volunteers out tonight without knowing exactly how many people we need to be securing resources for. We won't know what the work is that we need to be doing as a city and as a county. I know that we can take on homelessness. It's a huge crisis, and I think particularly we can take it on when the entire community comes together.
The effects of the pandemic can still be felt in people's pockets, which is why the LADWP has launched the program Help is on the Way. Angelenos who have fallen behind on their bills will be able to get assistance with their utility debt. This program will help those who've been struggling to get back on their feet and leave these challenging times behind. Let's take a look.
So we're here today announcing our Help is on the Way program, which really is celebrating 2 key pieces. One is the application of American Rescue Act money gotten through the state of California. That's about $275 million in funds that are automatically applied to every residential bill that's more than 60 days behind. And that money's already started being applied in mid-January, getting it out to all of our customers to help people who fell behind during the pandemic.
It's important that we continue to alert people or make people aware that these programs are available for families who have either lost their jobs, lost a loved one, had hours reduced at work, and simply cannot make ends meet. These bills are still piling up for some of our families, and they're not going away. So as people are starting to get back to a normal life, we need to make sure that these people don't default in some of these payments and we make money available to them to be able to stay afloat.
COVID was brutal. One place we can make a difference as the city is we own our own utility. The people of LA, this is their Department of Water and Power. So when we lobbied Washington, successfully got through the state dollars to help with utility bill relief, that meant that we could help nearly 300,000 households and business customers erase their debt, which means they can get back on their feet. So this is really significant, the biggest debt relief in our history with the Department of Water and Power.
Para las personas que quisieran saber cómo acceder a este programa para poder ayudarle a pagar sus pagos del Departamento de Agua y Electricidad, lo único que digo es que por favor vayan por internet, pueden comunicarse en LADWP Directive.com, donde puede tener todos los programas accesibles para las personas de bajos recursos que puedan, para que puedan pagar sus biles si han atrasado a través de la pandemia. Cuando usted reciba su pago o su bill del agua y de luz cada otro mes, en este bill también van a estar todos los formularios y todos los diferentes programas por los que las personas que hablan español puedan aplicar.
Kristen Crowley is officially appointed as LA's new fire chief. Free home composting and urban gardening workshops are back, and the city gets ready to build electric vehicle infrastructure. All this up next on City Beat.
City Council unanimously approved the appointment of Kristen Crowley as LA's next fire chief. Crowley will become the first female and first openly LGBTQ+ fire chief in the city of Los Angeles. With over 22 years of experience with LAFD, Crowley's roles have included firefighter, battalion chief, fire marshal, and deputy chief. Her focus includes creating a harassment and discrimination-free work environment in addition to enhancing firefighter safety. Crowley will begin her new position on March 26th when current Chief Ralph Terrazas retires. LA Sanitation and Environment announced they will resume their free home composting and urban gardening workshops in March. The first half of each workshop will cover composting, and the second half will teach a different gardening topic each month. Monthly subjects covered will include spring vegetables, roses and trees, and cactuses and succulents. Workshops are scheduled through June on Saturday mornings at different locations across the city. Registration for the workshops is required, and LA City resident participants will be entered into a drawing to win a free rain barrel. For information on upcoming workshops, visit lacitysand.org. The Energy, Climate Change, Environmental Justice, and Los Angeles River Committee voted in approval of motions focusing on LA's vehicles. LADWP will create an electric vehicle master plan addressing how to best implement an energy strategy to support LA's growing EV population. This plan will pull together data from numerous city departments that have looked at energy impacts from diverse perspectives. Emphasis will be placed on ensuring that electrification goals are distributed equitably across all of LA's populations. To learn more about LA 100, the city's framework for 100% carbon neutral power, visit cd13.lacity.org.
If you're the type of Angelino who likes to cycle or walk around the city, then this story is for you. To make Los Angeles a more pedestrian and bicycle-friendly city, LA's Department of Transportation hosted the StressFree Connections Design Lab. These workshops were put on to help create a map that shows the safest ways for Angelinos to move around LA on foot or on a bicycle. Check it out.
My role here today, I'm part of the project team that is leading up the LADOT initiative planning for StressFree Connections, and is LADOT's efforts to plan networks of bicycle boulevards on neighborhood or local streets in Los Angeles.
Estos son unos talleres que estamos poniendo para la comunidad, en donde le estamos explicando qué es lo que el Departamento de Transportación está haciendo para mejorar las intersecciones para los que andan en bicicleta y para los peatones.
For almost 2 years when I used to come to school in this neighborhood, so I'd like to provide my perspective as far as the traffic and the congestion that is still prevalent.
We need to understand what are the biggest barriers or constraints that people face in navigating streets in terms of their level of comfort. We know that a great majority of Angelinos that we've talked to would be interested in riding a bicycle more to get to day-to-day trip needs, but they are a little hesitant in riding amongst traffic. So a point of this exercise is to identify those key barriers and constraints of riding along our local streets and come up with design solutions that will work to address those needs so people feel more comfortable.
It's part of a larger effort
to make LA a more pedestrian and bicycle friendly city than it is right now. So this is to be able to have a map to show people, if you want to go from here to here, here's the safest way to do it.
Movie history fans can now enjoy a sneak peek into the past with the current display of Blacks in Cinema. Channel 35 was a community built in Leimert Park to see the exhibit of the legendary Black actors and film professionals who defined film and TV history represented in this art tour. Let's take a look.
What we have here in Leimert Park, a community build, is the 2019 City Hall exhibit, Blacks in Cinema. And we have on display some of our legacy, legendary Black actors and people who have produced the movies that existed to define a culture from the 1970s.
The art exhibit is a big part of history. This is something that's never been done. It's a sense of honor to see this put here at this center where thousands of people can see it. I advise everyone who is within the Southern California area or even outside of the California area, around the United States and the world, to come see this exhibit while it's here. You are seeing film and TV history here.
So the Blacks in Cinema exhibit focused on a genre, blaxploitation, which was a collection of films that came out in the 70s that reflected themes that were very prevalent during the 1960s. You had the hippie movement, the Vietnam War, women's liberation, and the rise of the Black Panther Party. And so those images that were seen in news were reflected in the story content. And so there was an opportunity for audiences to see images that they had never seen before.
I love the way they put it on the windows here because you can't miss it. When I first saw it 3 years ago, I was great, but here, to be put here, is even better. And the point of it is, it's 24 hours. And I'm glad to be a part of this history because it's a lifetime for me.
We picked the Blacks in Cinema to take advantage of not only African American Heritage Month in February, but we wanted it to run through the Academy Award cycle, which is in March. So we're intended to have this particular display up throughout the month of April, and I hope throughout the month of May. The 2019 exhibit Blacks in Cinema is part of a collection of African American Heritage Month exhibits from City Hall. They're now being collected and organized to be a virtual exhibit with the Los Angeles Public Library main branch. And as soon as that gets done, these images and an updated version of the exhibits will be available for public display, not only in America, but internationally as well.
Northridge is fighting some of its food challenges by introducing indoor agricultural practices at the LAPD Devonshire Youth Center, where Channel 35 was on hand to witness their first kale harvest. Councilmember John Lee shared some interesting details about this energy, water, and space-efficient way of sustainable farming in urban areas. Check it out.
We're here today in Northridge for the first harvest from the indoor food trailer that LADWP has been working with the Northridge Pals and CD12 on demonstrating how indoor agriculture can help us address some of our food challenges in a city like Los Angeles.
We jumped at the opportunity to try to think of new ideas, and someone brought up the idea of sustainable farming in urban areas. And what you see behind me and what you're going to see inside is we're growing kale right now. And it's just an example of the things that we can grow inside using far less water, far less energy, and also the need for a huge space of land.
Una de las razones más importantes es que queríamos traer un programa innovado que use menos energía, menos agua, y se puedan estar plantando los vegetales todo el año.
What's suitable about this youth center is that we have kids here that we can sort of teach about sustainable farming. Why is that so important?
Kale is a very delicious vegetable and a very nutritious vegetable, so having that opportunity to give kids an introduction to a variety of ways to eat kale and to introduce it into their daily dietary needs it's just a great thing.
LADWP was interested in this project because we want to help our community be sustainable. And this way we can help to demonstrate to the community ways to grow food or to bring food to Angelenos in a way that has less of an impact on the climate.
The early projections are we're going to be turning out approximately 100 pounds a week of fresh produce once we get in a continuous cycle. And that's just really exciting because not only are we showing that urban farming can be real, but it's an opportunity for us to partner with some of the food distribution centers in our district to help those people that are in need get some fresh produce in their lives.
In the event of a disaster, how would Los Angeles react? Luckily for us, there are professionals like Jennifer Lazo, an LA City Emergency Management Coordinator, who is working hard to ensure the city is prepared if this were to happen. Many women are taking on key roles in this field, and she hopes more will decide to become emergency managers and make a difference. Check it out.
So I'm an emergency management coordinator with the LA City's Emergency Management Department. Emergency Management Department's the one pulling together all the departments in the city of LA and making sure that everyone is ready to go if a disaster were to happen. Personally, I can't help but say the woman I look up to is my mom. You can't really look beyond that. But professionally, it was more of a challenge to find women to look up to because in the emergency management field, there just aren't as many key female figures out there. But I'm seeing it changing, seeing more and more women coming into this field. It's been a while since I've been in a room with only men. We know Amelia Earhart, we know Rosa Parks, we know these women, but I would love to hear the stories more of the women who made these things happen that we haven't heard before. And there have been women involved in emergency management disaster response all the way through the last 100 years. And what we need to do is actually find out who those women are and hear their stories. And so I think that's an opportunity we have in Women's Heritage Month. In order to be an emergency manager, you do not have to be a firefighter or a police officer or in the military first. You can go into this field. If you want to help people, if you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to be ready for a disaster in your city, emergency management is an amazing field where you can make an impact. For more information on the LA City Emergency Management Department, visit emergency.lacity.org.
In our featured story this week, Maria Holbrown sits down with the newly appointed LA Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley. As the first woman and openly LGBTQ+ person to hold this position, she's breaking barriers. Let's take a look.
Well, it's history in the making. The first woman fire marshal of the LA Fire Department is about to become the first woman chief of the LA Fire Department. I'm delighted to welcome back to LA Currents, LA Fire Chief nominee Kristen Crowley. So good to have you back.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you.
You building roads quickly. You are really, it's 6 months is not a long period of time to go from one very important position to another.
I tell you, my feelings were really mixed. I was very excited. I was not shocked, but the timing of it, I wasn't quite sure when and if this would ever happen. So when the mayor approached me and we had a number of conversations, and then eventually when he made that decision to make me the nominee, took a deep breath and say, okay, let's do this.
What are some of the things that are immediately going to be sitting on your desk?
First and foremost, our members and firefighters and sworn civilian individuals need to understand that I'm going to be bringing everybody along with me in this journey. It's not just going to be me saying, hey, we need to do this, because I don't have all the answers. But I think the important piece is that first and foremost, the community knows that we're ready and able to serve them. So the staffing issue is really going to be one of my #1 priorities, to make sure that the LAFD remains ready to respond to any 911 call.
When it comes to the issues of, say, sexual harassment or some of the problems that have come to light in the news with the department, how can you actually address them?
First and foremost is recognizing that there's an issue and having a plan forward for that. So obviously the ongoing education. Education is a key for any behavior in the work environment. So that education piece will be ongoing. We've done that to a certain degree, but I want to really take it to the next level. And I also think that the accountability piece is the essential back half of that equation, where it's going to be clearly articulated that if a member does choose to step out of line and treat somebody inappropriately in the workplace, there will be ramifications if a member chooses to mistreat another member on our department.
What are some of the exciting things that the fire department, or not so exciting, or unorthodox, or unexpected, does?
Now, with the pandemic, the fire department, we took a huge role in testing and vaccinations. Well, now we're kind of coming out of that. So now we're pivoting back, and now we're focusing on, okay, what's our primary mission? How are we going to better serve the community? So when somebody calls 911, whatever it may be, for a fire, 85% of what we do is medical, right? So what are the innovative ways that now we can start to look at evolving kind of the new service model of how we can better serve the community?
There's an opportunity for every walk of life, every type of person. Every opportunity is here at the LAFD. And what are you saying to get those people in the door that might be our next firefighters?
Part of the recruitment strategy, and I think just for me being in the seat and being visible, that's a lot of people go, I didn't even know that there was a female fire chief out there, whatever the case may be. But the messaging is very strategic. We go out in all different communities. We plant the seeds very, very, very early, from our youth fire academies to our cadet programs to our Crew 3, to any way that we can actively go out and show the community that, hey, this is there for you. We have a number of prep programs where we can prep people so they understand how to be successful in the hiring process, what we're looking for our candidates, and also the hands-on approach.
Truly and absolutely, from the entire team here, congratulations, well deserved. And from this particular vantage point, thank you for taking this time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
The Los Angeles Public Library is celebrating Women's History Month with a new installment of their LA Made series titled Women in Skateboarding, Past, Present, and Future. Los Angeles is home to many women that have shaped skateboarding. While female riders have always been around, their entry into the skating industry is, unfortunately, fairly new. The event will include Cindy Whitehead, Alex White, Brianna King, and Monica Torres in a discussion on how each of them has become superstars in the art form. Women in Skateboarding, Past, Present, and Future streams on LAPL's YouTube and Facebook pages on Thursday, March 17th at 4 p.m. For more info, visit lapl.org/events. El Pueblo Historical Monument will celebrate Women's History Month with an outdoor Latinx marketplace pop-up event, Molcajete Dominguero. Founders Gladys Vasquez and Luis Aguilar created Molcajete in 2017 in hopes of establishing more local Latinx events outside of Cinco de Mayo and Dia de los Muertos. Their events now bring together upwards of 500 registered vendors. Don't miss out on this family-friendly chance to eat, drink, shop, socialize, and enjoy raffles and entertainment at the birthplace of Los Angeles, El Pueblo. Molcajete Dominguero happens on Sunday, March 20th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the El Pueblo Historical Monument. For more information, visit molcajetedominguero.com. Lovers of cunning whodunits unite! LAPL is back with a celebration of Women's Mystery Month with an online program honoring author Mary Roberts Reinhardt. The event, titled The Other Queen of Crime, references that Reinhardt is often called the American Agatha Christie. Both iconic writers were leaders in the golden age of mystery fiction writing. During her prime, Reinhardt was thought to be more famous than Christie. At the time of her death in 1958, her books had sold over 10 million copies. The Other Queen of Crime, Mary Roberts Reinhardt, the American Agatha Christie, will take place on Saturday, March 19th at 4 p.m. For the Zoom link, email litficprograms@lapl.org. And that's a look at some things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA